I'm just wondering what size of ego somebody has that thinks they've got the audacity to sign a 100-year deal about anything with anyone, which is what Kier Starmer has done with Ukraine while he's popped off abroad because he's not been invited to the inauguration of the most important president in the Western world, President Donald Trump. He's decided to go and sign a deal with Ukraine for 100 years of basically backing them. Now, many people see this as a kind of money leaving the West in aid and money for weapons. And then as we know, the weapons and all the stuff is made back in the West. It kind of washes it around, doesn't it, somehow? And he's made this deal for 100 years. Who on earth does that? What sort of person sits there and thinks they're important enough to have their mindset move forward for 100 years when the only reason you've got a whopping majority is because the country was apathetic and didn't come out and vote? What makes you think you're so relevant that the chances of even going full term in this office that you've got is slim? You'll only get replaced by another stooge like Yvette Cooper or, God forbid, Wes Streeting. But nevertheless, it does show an ego that's unparalleled with any other leader. I mean, no matter whether you like Tony Blair or not, or you agreed with him, he was actually quite effective in what he wanted to do without alerting the country to just how bad it was, because they'd got years of Thatcherism's build-up of wealth to draw down on to run the country. It's like what they say about inherited wealth, clogs to clogs in 3 generations. One generation earns it, it's handed down to the next generation who squanders it, and by the 3rd generation they've none left because nobody's had the foresight of the original generation. But this man has the audacity and the ego to actually instigate a deal that is going to last 100 years. I just think it smacks of hubris, self-importance. He actually sees himself as a world figure rather than a stooge of a greater team of people who are basically telling him what to do, no doubt, and he's eagerly listening. Now, as far as Ukraine goes, I prefer President Trump's stance because I think he is a man that gets things done. And here he is on CNN. I'll just play you a quick voice clip when she's trying to, this is what I call bimbo journalism. She's a real fit piece in a white suit. She's got really long dark hair. She's so attractive, it's unreal. And she's asking President Trump the question she thinks she's going to nail him.
Ukraine to win this war?
I don't think in terms of winning and losing. I think in terms of getting it settled so we stop killing all these people and breaking them.
What do you, can I just follow up on that? You said you don't think in terms of winning and losing. Mr. President, can I just follow up on that because that's a really important statement that you just made there. Can you say if you want Ukraine or Russia to win this war?
I want everybody to stop dying. They're dying. Russians and Ukrainians. I want them to stop dying. And I'll have that absolutely.
Do you want Ukraine to win this war?
So that's a much better attitude. He wants them to stop dying. He's being neutral in his stance, just wants it to stop. Most of the world want it to stop. But it's too lucrative to stop. BlackRock is already carving up what it's going to own and what it's not going to own. And what people don't understand with a country like this is that they can't afford to pay these loans back. They know it. So they give them loans knowing they can't afford to pay them back. So they have to forfeit the only asset base they've got. It's a bit like a repossession when you've got yourself into debt and a bailiff comes round. You haven't got the money, so they take goods in lieu. And that's what will happen with this particular country. They'll take goods in lieu, but these goods in lieu are really important. Hence it's known as the breadbasket of Europe because of its high quality arable land. Its minerals that are buried deep beneath. It's got everything the West needs. And BlackRock, as you know, Larry Fink has had a meeting in Downing Street just before, I think it was just before Christmas, and just before we issued legislation that's devastated our farmers, may I say, when Bill Gates was with him as well. Bill Gates and Larry Fink from BlackRock had a meeting with Kier Starmer. Ironically, Elon Musk, who's been calling out Starmer, wasn't invited, yet just as important an individual as these other two men. So you can see what's going on here. This man, he never told you before he went he was going to Ukraine. He'd never told anybody of any plans that he had to go and spend our money again out there. And not only that, tie us in for 100 years. The Daily Mail has run an article today about how he's told the Ukraine president that we'll send troops out there to police the Ukrainian border. We're not even policing our own border. This is hubris beyond scale. This is a man who is completely devoid of being in touch with reality. This is an android thinking man that's, you know, trying to probably piece together the final phases of the Long March. Google it if you don't know what it is. This is a man who supports communism, he's openly supported communism. And here he is telling the country that when he makes a commitment like that, that means more tax. That means we will be paying more tax. And I just wanted to point out that I see this as pure ego. This is ego driven. This is a man who sees himself like Caesar Augustus. This is a man who sees himself like one of the greats of all time. I wouldn't be surprised if he's not having a bust or a head being modelled about him so he can stand it on a shelf somewhere for in years to come. Bear in mind, this is a man who's taken pictures of Winston Churchill out of number 10. What lunatic does that? So I just had to share that with you because I just think this is what's running your country. Unbelievable.